ILM Level 3 Leadership and Management, Understanding Performance Management. 8600-323, also covering Unit 8605-323. Introduction. This workbook and the various activities within it introduce you to the challenges of understanding performance management. Key skills are examined that will enable you to confidently tackle this element of your job as a supervisor and/or team leader. The activities will require you to consider theories, models, and concepts that align with each topic, but importantly, you will be expected to make parallels with your own experience in the workplace, which will help in ensuring that you can lead your team effectively. A few thoughts relating to performance. The true measure of the value of any business leader and manager is performance. Brian Tracy. In business, words are words, explanations are explanations, promises are promises, but only performance is reality. Harold Geneen. What is performance management? A process which contributes to the effective management of individuals and teams in order to achieve high levels of organizational performance. Armstrong and Barron. According to the Chartered Institute of Personnel and Development, performance management should incorporate development. Unless there is continuous development of individuals and teams, performance will not improve. Performance improvement throughout the organization in respect of individual, team, and organizational effectiveness. Managing behavior by ensuring that individuals are encouraged to behave in a way that allows and fosters better working relationships. The fact that the concept of performance management includes the word management suggests quite rightly that the processes contributing to ensuring individual and organizational performance levels are achieved need to be managed, and responsibility for these processes rests with managers. As a first-line manager, you have a major role to play, as you will have direct reports whom you will be required to performance manage through performance assessment and appraisal. Moreover, you will have a key role in dealing with any cases of underperformance. Performance assessment and appraisal sits within a performance management system and offers valuable opportunities to focus on work activities and goals, to identify and correct existing performance issues and problems, to motivate employees, and to help sustain high levels of performance. Where performance has not been satisfactory, it enables managers to steer people to better future performance. A consistent, comprehensive, and well-implemented performance management system incorporating effective assessment and appraisal will enhance the performance of the whole organization. Performance assessment and appraisal. Informal performance assessment and appraisal. Informal assessment and appraisal is undertaken by line managers on an ongoing basis as required throughout the formal reporting period. The day-to-day working environment offers numerous opportunities to engage with employees and to evaluate performance. Feedback can be given through regular conversations or following observation or review of a particular task. Significant benefit comes from the immediacy of informal appraisal, as delayed feedback loses motivational impact and reduces chance of behavioral change. Regular informal feedback to employees should mean that when the formal appraisal is undertaken, there are no surprises for them. It should be self-evident that right at the heart of delivery of effective informal feedback is a need for line managers to have well-honed communication and interpersonal skills. Formal performance assessment and appraisal. Formal performance assessment provides evaluation of work performance over time and is geared to developing agreed and realistic expectations of performance, agreeing specific goals to be pursued in the period 3, 6, or 12 months following the assessment, providing a formal mechanism to measure achievements and recognize individual contribution, creating a record of performance, capturing both the employees' and the line manager's views, establishing targets for improving employee performance as appropriate, identifying strengths and areas for improvement in skills, capability, and competence, and establishing if strengths can be better deployed. identifying problems in achieving required performance, and identifying training and development needs and producing a training and development plan. Performance review. Performance review involves a face-to-face discussion of the issues being included in the assessment report and is undertaken by line managers. It is generally the line manager's responsibility to prepare and program the review, which should be at a time convenient for both parties. Scheduling of reviews. The formal performance review is usually undertaken on an annual basis and often includes an interim review at a suitable juncture, usually at the 6-month point, and in some organizations the 3- and 9-month points as well. The performance review process. While there will be variation in the processes adopted between organizations, in general the process includes completion of a self-appraisal, including draft objectives for the forthcoming year, usually in an organizationally standardized format. The self-appraisal would be forwarded to the line manager at around a month before the annual review date. The line manager would incorporate his or her comments into the document for the review meeting. Some appraisal systems will specify competences that are relevant to the job and require the line manager to allocate a score for performance against each relevant competence and/or a short text providing examples to justify the score awarded. The employee and line manager would meet to discuss the performance appraisal, performance goals, training and development, and any other relevant issues, for example, factors that might be affecting performance or achievement of goals. The review meeting would give opportunities for both parties to expand upon what has been included in the formal report. Some organizations have a second manager to add comment, and this is usually the line manager of the person reporting on the employee. This is to ensure fairness among and parity of treatment by reviewers. The outcome would be recorded, and agreed actions would be included in work plans. The review meeting. The review meeting is an important meeting and needs careful preparation. It would incorporate review of job parameters, goals, and objectives, including review of the job description and any terms of reference for the role to ensure currency, and review of objectives agreed at the previous review. Review of the employee's performance, including review progress against work plans, review comments in the report of the staff member, and then those of the line manager. Identification and analysis of strengths and areas for improvement, and review of issues impacting on the employee's performance and motivation. Identification of necessary actions, including identifying any individual training and development or support requirements, identifying any resourcing issues, and allocation of any special projects to harness individual strengths to develop the individual for new roles and/or responsibilities, or to provide opportunity for the individual to concentrate on areas requiring improvement or wider experience. Agreeing and refining goals and objectives for the next reporting period, including aligning goals and objectives with the organization's strategic plans and the team or departmental objectives. Agreeing how goals will be measured and reported, and identifying any further training and development requirements needed for achievement of the goals. Post-review documentation should be completed, including a record of the main discussion points, and agreed actions would be made by the line manager. The record would be reviewed by both the employee and the line manager and signed by both. The employee should not be signing to say that they agree with the review, but that it is a fair and accurate record of what was discussed. And review documentation should be forwarded to the Human Resources HR department for retention on a confidential personnel file and a copy given to the employee. Ensuring fairness in the review process. Performance appraisal and reviews should be conducted in an open, fair, and unbiased manner and be seen as a positive experience for the employee. Weaknesses that leave increased scope for unfairness include failure to set specific, measurable goals and objectives for employees, managers not recording observations throughout the performance period and forgetting to include comment about key elements of work performance, having no data or specific examples to support observations, failing to confront employee problems when they occur, but bringing the issue up at review, denying the employee the chance to correct their performance, failure to maintain ongoing dialogue with employees, speaking predominantly at performance review time, inconsistencies in appraisal criterion, for example, having assessment of competencies that are not relevant to the role or assessing competencies that go beyond those set out in the job description, having a single person reporting on employees, not having rigid reporting periods with which line managers must comply, and overfamiliarity between the line manager and employees, leading to favoritism and bias in composing assessments. Actions to ensure consistency and fairness in performance appraisal and systems. The key to ensuring fairness lies in having consistent, valid, and fair systems that are efficiently and effectively implemented. To help ensure consistency and fairness in performance appraisal and review systems, employees should understand the standards of performance expected of them and undertake any reasonable additional training or development recommended. Line managers should take special care to construct clear, measurable performance objectives, look objectively at performance, and be able to cite examples of behaviors that support observations made. Advise employees if their performance falls below expected standards. Record observations through the reporting period. Maintain ongoing dialogue with the employees. Ensure that ambiguities and inconsistencies are removed from the system. Plan to ensure completion of reviews at and within the stipulated and published reporting timetable and avoid overfamiliarity between the line manager and employees. Dealing with underperformance capability issues, line managers' responsibilities. Where underperformance is not deliberate, in which case you may be considering disciplinary action which should be in consultation with your workplace HR advisors, you have a range of options including further job skills training, internal or externally delivered, on-the-job coaching support, allocation of a mentor, off-the-job learning for generic skills such as writing skills, team member skills, etc., changing or rotating responsibilities within the team, changing roles or task allocations within the team, increasing or decreasing the size of the team, problem-solving meetings with individuals or the team facilitated by yourself or others, and more serious action in tandem with HR could include counseling, informal warnings, formal warnings, and dismissal. Dealing with underperformance can be challenging, but it does need to be addressed promptly and appropriately. Employees are often unaware they are not performing well. Therefore, they are unlikely to change their performance without intervention. Line managers need courage and willingness to address the issues. At line manager level, there will usually be a limit to what you are expected to deal with. Often, poor performance will be addressed in combination with HR specialists. This is especially the case where warnings and ultimately dismissal become necessary. There is a recognized process that any employment tribunal will expect an organization to have followed in cases brought before them. So it is important that when you have a performance issue that is starting to escalate, you seek specialist HR help. For dealing with underperformance issues, the process would typically be: identify the problem, assess the problem, meet with the employee and discuss the problem at the earliest opportunity, jointly develop and agree to solution to the problem, setting clear objectives for improvement, ideally resolving the problem on an informal basis, monitor performance and review performance. You will need to invest time and effort in helping the employee achieve the improvement objectives, including provision of regular informal feedback and coaching, along with regular appraisal reviews to discuss any help or training needed or any problems related to achieving the objectives. It is important to keep a record of discussions and actions. They will be required if improvement does not happen and more serious action needs to be taken. Sometimes performance management and disciplinary process may overlap. Consider in discussion with HR specialists more serious action if the employee's performance does not improve. Action that is more serious could include counseling, informal verbal written warnings, formal written warnings, and ultimately dismissal. The escalating process towards more serious action needs to be very carefully followed, as adherence to the relevant ACAS Code of Practice will be considered in any employment tribunal arising from the situation. Many of the organizational requirements that relate to standards of performance will be set out in company policy documents, employee contracts, and within performance appraisal processes. Additionally, many behavioral standards are set out within the law. Policies and procedures. Policies are guidelines that regulate the way things are done in an organization. They set out expectations regarding how certain matters will be dealt with and the parameters of things such as expected standards, behaviors, and the organizational stance on particular issues. Policies tend to reflect the bigger issues faced by organizations, while procedures provide a framework for dealing with day-to-day matters in an organized and consistent way. Procedures set out the way that policies will be implemented. Policies guide decision-making, while procedures drive action. In combination, policies and procedures should make clear the organization's position on important issues, define what is expected in terms of performance from employees and the consequences of any breaches of the stated expectations, and be consistent. Policies may cover a wide range of different subjects from health and safety through to complaints handling and disciplinary procedures. Examples of subjects covered may include timekeeping, dress codes, absenteeism, conduct at work, equality and diversity, including bullying, victimization, and harassment, data protection, levels of performance, professionalism in relationships, requirements to undertake overtime to fulfill output performance, quality assurance issues, IT policy, and environmental protection. Reasons for underperformance. There are many reasons why an employee may perform poorly. Some of the common reasons for underperformance include the employee not knowing what is expected, including the consequences of failure, because goals and/or standards or workplace policies are not clear or have not been set. Interpersonal differences. A negative or unpleasant atmosphere or low morale reduces performance levels. They lack the capability, knowledge, or work skills required to do the job. Lack of confidence. Lack of feedback. They don't know whether they are doing a good job. Unsatisfactory work conditions. Lack of personal motivation. Personal issues such as family stress, physical and/or mental health problems, or issues with alcohol or drugs. Misunderstandings about what or how things should be done and/or bullying, victimization, and/or harassment. It goes without saying that employees have a responsibility to perform to a satisfactory level at work. However, a large part of the responsibility for creating a context in which people can perform to or at their best lies with the line manager. Many of the characteristics of poor performance come down to weak leadership. It falls to line managers to address the likely causes of poor performance and take the lead to intervene where necessary to ensure performance levels are maintained, as highlighted in the following model. Lack of clear goals, conflict including fear of conflict, avoidance of responsibility, differing values, lack of trust, low self-belief, weak leadership, leading to poor team performance. Prime characteristics of low performance. Ways to identify and rectify areas of concern or underperformance. A long-standing management adage states, "You cannot manage that which you cannot measure." Implicit in the statement is that you need to know what you are entitled to expect in relation to performance, and that your team members need to know what standards of performance they are required to meet. In short, their individual contribution to the team's performance needs to be measurable. If it is measurable, then a judgment can be made as to whether that measure has been achieved. This, along with having effective goals and objectives, is the key to rectifying underperformance. That is why it is important to be able to set measurable goals and objectives, and why the SMART acronym is so useful in setting goals, which we will be able to consider once we have examined what goals and objectives actually are. What are goals and objectives? A goal is an observable end result to be achieved within a more or less fixed time frame. The Business Dictionary. An objective is an end that can be reasonably achieved within an expected time frame and with available resources. Objectives are a tool that underlies all planning and strategic activities. The Business Dictionary. In short, a goal is a general statement of achievement, and an objective is a specific and measurable action you take to reach the goal by a certain time. The word objectives is often used interchangeably with the word targets. Examples of goals and objectives might be: Example 1. A personal goal. To achieve outstanding success in my chosen subject of microbiology and achieve what no other person has ever achieved. A personal objective. To complete my assignment on microbiology with a score of 80 to 85% by the end of next month. Example 2. A business goal. To create an easily found and searchable web presence to promote and sell our products. A business objective arising from the above business goal. By the end of July 2012, the company's main website will be redesigned, rebuilt, debugged, relaunched to the web, and optimized to achieve 100,000 hits and more than 750 unit sales per month by October 2012. Objective setting. To allocate work and measure performance effectively, you will need to agree objectives with team members you are placing work with. The objectives need to be aligned with those of the organization. For example, if you were running a manufacturing team that produces parts for engines, it would be nonsense to have an objective around producing as many parts as possible by the end of the quarter if stock levels were already too high. The SMART acronym has become pretty universal as a framework for setting effective objectives. SMART stands for specific, measurable, agreed, achievable, realistic, time, or time-bounded. The characteristics of each element of SMART are defined and amplified below. Specific. Is the objective clear and precise? What exactly has to be achieved? Measurable. Do you know how to measure it? Think quality, cost, time, quantity. Is it possible to easily ascertain whether the objective has been achieved? Agreed, achievable. Agreement with the person undertaking the work leads to greater commitment. Is it achievable? Does the person undertaking the tasks involved see it as achievable too? Realistic. Do you and the person undertaking the task think that the target is sufficiently challenging but also deliverable? Time. Have clear timescales for the achievement of the objective been set? Combining personal objectives and expectations with organizational objectives. Employees will have personal objectives that they are seeking to achieve through their work in addition to or combined with the organizational objectives that are required from them. This is a healthy situation if both the individual objectives and organizational objectives are productively combined. This is usually represented through the idea of the psychological contract, an informal and unwritten set of expectations about what an employer and an employee are entitled to, in this case in terms of achievement of objectives. As represented in the diagram below, this can be thought of as a set of scales. When the expectations of the organization and of the individual are in balance, then both sets of expectations are being met. When either the organization's expectations or the individual's expectations are not being met, the scales are out of balance. If individual expectations are not being met, then the individual will not be happy, and vice versa. Performance is likely to suffer as a consequence. There is a clear link to be made between an individual having a good balance between what they expect to achieve and what they are actually able to achieve through their work. This relates directly to motivation and performance of both the individual and the team. Your answers could be many and varied. Generic ones could perhaps include achieving and maintaining high levels of satisfaction, to be able to work hours which enable you to pick up your children from school, to undertake employer-funded work-related qualifications, to work from home, to achieve a promotion within a certain time scale, to enjoy the company of fellow team members socially and/or to learn specific skills. Feedback. Employees who receive regular, informal feedback are more likely to perform at a higher level. Giving regular feedback can be challenging for the employer and employee alike. As individuals differ, there is no one right way of giving feedback. The principles that support effective feedback include objectivity, honesty, and timeliness. In giving feedback, the person providing feedback should focus on what they have observed the employee do, positive or negative, and explain honestly why that behavior deviated from the norm or what was expected. The feedback should be given as soon as possible after the observed behavior. Even the slightest delay can significantly dilute the benefit of the feedback. The word benefit sits at the core of effective feedback. The employer wants the employee to improve his or her performance for the benefit of both the employee and the organization. A culture of blame and critical feedback will create an unproductive and unhappy team. One model for giving feedback is BOCA, which stands for behavior, what you observed, outcome, the immediate result of the behavior, consequence, the consequential impact of the behavior, action, what you wish them to do differently. Giving feedback can be more challenging if the feedback is to be both timely and effective. Nevertheless, while it is not necessarily appropriate to give notice of what it is that the line manager needs to discuss, the effective leader will ensure privacy and invite the staff member to contribute to the discussion. One approach is to elicit from the individual some self-analysis of the situation before giving your feedback. Monitoring performance. There are a variety of possible responses relating to monitoring of both individuals and teams, which might include independent quality inspections or audits, team quality monitoring or sampling, customer feedback, satisfaction surveys, observations by team leader or others, production operation records, for example, recording daily output, and/or progress reports, including production graphs, etc. Ensuring staff understand monitoring systems. In monitoring performance, staff will need to know what standards are expected and how they will be measured against those standards. This will often be communicated via organizational policies and procedures, but that alone is unlikely to be sufficient. The team leader's role will include responsibility to disseminate task requirements, including standards, and ensure that they are understood, implemented, and achieved. Ultimately, it is an ongoing communication process. Quality standards and their purpose. A quality standard is a concise statement describing the expected level of service, performance, or product quality. A.H. Ramanathan, 2012. One widely applied definition of quality is fit for purpose, Prince 2. This deserves a little reflection as to the implications of this definition for controlling work. Fit for purpose is effectively adequate, that is just right for the job in hand. It is not high quality, which is often taken as the meaning of quality in everyday conversation. Much of a manager's time will be concerned with ensuring that products and services are undertaken and delivered to the requisite standard, quality, at the expected cost and in the timescales required. To enable this to happen, we need to understand what standards are to be applied and how to control performance in team production and/or service delivery. The main reason organizations have quality standards is to ensure that they, whatever their business, consistently meet customer requirements, thereby ensuring customers continue to buy their products or use their services. Standards provide benchmarks for performance. Key performance indicators. There are numerous systems for measuring performance used in organizations. At supervisory level, the focus is more on measuring work performance, output, and quality in fairly narrow but clearly defined areas. To achieve this, we need to be able to have a benchmark or indicator of performance against which we can measure the work performance, output, and quality. These measures are often referred to as key performance indicators, or KPIs. Key performance indicators come in three main types. Input KPIs measure assets and resources used, purchases made, to achieve business results. Examples might include funding for training, raw materials, and quality of raw materials, for example, grade 1, 2, 3, etc. Process KPIs measure the efficiency or productivity of a business process. Examples might include production time, days to deliver a completed order, number of days to reply to customer requests, number of personnel trained in use of a piece of equipment, and days taken to fill vacancies. Output KPIs measure the financial and non-financial results of business activities. Examples might include sales revenue, number of new customers, increase in full-time employees, return on investment, and customer satisfaction. A mix of the three types of KPIs, process, input, and output, would be applied to give a broad picture of individual, team, or organizational performance. Any variances then need to be investigated, and appropriate action needs to be taken to address the variance. Interpersonal behavior and its impact on performance. Interpersonal behavior is how people interact with one another. Interpersonal skills are sometimes called social skills or people skills, and include how well we communicate with others and how well we listen and understand what is being said. Effective interpersonal behavior contributes directly to performance at work, and by developing your interpersonal skills and those of your team, you will improve relations between team members and their motivation, commitment, and productivity. While many responses are possible, the following may feature highly as you consider the impact of poor interpersonal skills and behavior: reduced effectiveness, low productivity, unfulfilling and unpleasant working atmosphere, high turnover of employees, loss of customers, poor decision-making, stress, aggression and conflict, wasted time, and/or wasted money and other resources. The impact of poor interpersonal skills and behavior can be very significant. It is worth considering what behaviors you want to see from fellow team members and that you want to display in your leadership of the team. Behaviors displayed by people with good interpersonal skills include effectively conveying information, paying attention to others, actively listening, taking an interest in other team members, being able to accurately interpret other people's emotions, being sensitive to other people's feelings, being approachable, ability to suspend judgment, willingness to see other perspectives and to value diversity in others, calmly and effectively resolving conflicts, encouraging others, displaying positive body language, avoiding gossip, being polite, encouraging and allowing people to express their opinions and to discuss problems openly, involving others in decision-making where possible, and taking opportunities to help others. Motivation. One definition of motivation is the willingness to exert high levels of effort to reach organizational goals with satisfaction of some individual need. After Stephen 2000. There are three key elements that seem to drive motivation. They are 1. Intensity, how hard a person tries. 2. Direction, toward beneficial goal. 3. Persistence, how long a person tries. Levels of motivation are directly linked to individual and team performance. Demotivated people rarely work to the same standards as highly motivated people. One of the most prominent and accepted theories of motivation comes from Hertzberg, who made observations of the motivation in workers at the Ford Motor Company over a period of some 5 years. He segregated motivational factors into 2 discrete sections, which he called satisfiers, motivators, and hygiene factors, dissatisfiers, demotivators. Often this is referred to as two-factor theory. His categorization was hygiene factors, dissatisfiers, company policy and administration, relationships with coworkers, physical environment, supervision, status, job security, salary, pay and benefits. Motivators, satisfiers, achievement, recognition, work itself, responsibility, promotion, growth. The 2 motivators that were most effective were achievement and recognition. The diagram below shows the factors with the motivators inside the racing car and the hygiene factors around the racing car. Hertzberg's key findings were that people may be dissatisfied by a bad environment, but they are rarely made satisfied by a good environment. The prevention of dissatisfaction is just as important as encouragement of satisfaction. Hygiene factors operate independently of motivation factors. An individual can be highly motivated in his or her work and be dissatisfied with his work environment. All hygiene factors are equally important, although their frequency of occurrence differs considerably. Hygiene improvements have short-term effects. Any improvements result in a short-term removal or prevention of dissatisfaction, and hygiene needs are cyclical and come back to a starting point. This leads to the "what have you done for me lately" syndrome. You may have responded with specific observations relating to your own situation. However, as a general application of Hertzberg, team leaders who ensure that they address Hertzberg's top 2 motivational factors, recognition and achievement, will find that motivation and, by association, performance improves. Achievement relates to objective setting, and as people achieve the objective set, opportunities arise to give people recognition and constructive feedback. There is a parallel here to the old saying, "Catch somebody doing something well and tell them about it." Interestingly, rewards such as pay, i.e. the hygiene factors, are not supported as significant motivators as is popularly believed. Pay, according to Hertzberg, has some but very limited motivational power. However, where a person's pay is not at an appropriate level for the job, this can be, and usually is, a big demotivator. It is often suggested, for example, by sales personnel, that they are motivated by rewards such as bonuses. In two-factor theory, this would not be the motivator at all. It is the recognition that they get from being seen to have achieved the targets associated with their bonus. Mettle and mission. Petty offers an approach that enables both recognition and achievement to be part of an ongoing technique for motivating your team. When someone has achieved, you give them the medal, for example, a "well done," with an explanation of why and what they have done well, and then set the mission, the new task or developmental objectives. The new objectives in turn give more opportunity to apply the medal and mission approach. Conclusion. Successful organizations and companies need individuals and teams to perform well. As a supervisor or team leader, you are closely involved in the complexities of ensuring that you have people motivated to perform. Indeed, effective supervisors and team leaders are those that are constantly striving to improve their own performance and that of their team.